For us at ZF, the Engineering Week has become somewhat of a tradition. Typically, we observe the Engineering Week by recognizing the contribution of engineers and holding various public events like this Tech Talk on AI. Welcome everyone, my name is Preet Gill, and I'll be your host for this Tech Talk. This talk is part of an AI training series put together by a non-hierarchical peer-to-peer employee group called the Z-Heads. ZF's Z-Heads are passionate about all things tech, no matter our day jobs. I hope you will find this tech talk valuable. Please follow our social media channels to learn more about the exciting technology created here at ZF. About the history of AI. The first artificial neurons were conceptualized in the 1940s. So this was about 80 years ago. In 1950, the Alan Turing test came on the scene, and by the mid-1950s, John McCarthy had already coined the term AI, artificial intelligence. By the mid-60s, MIT had created the first chatbot called Eliza. In the late 1980s, the pioneers at Carnegie Mellon University had started to use neural networks to autonomously steer vehicles, the first step in autonomous driving. By 2002, Roomba, the autonomous vacuum cleaner, had debuted. By 2017, AlphaGo beats the world champion Kijé in the game of Go. By 2020, generative AI had started to create text, images, and sounds. So in the last 80 years, we can see how quickly this trajectory or this development of AI has happened. We are at a point today where there is geopolitical competition, which is further accelerating the AI development. All in all, I would say AI has developed very quickly into a force that not only is transforming our industries, our business, but directly our daily life. Now that we've talked about the history of AI, let's look at what is AI all about? What are these buzzwords we hear, machine learning, deep learning, and how do they connect with each other? So basically trying to understand the lay of the land. But even before that, to orient ourselves within that bigger scope of what AI is, especially from the viewpoint of the business, let's think about three main concepts. And these are concepts associated with the digital technologies and the maturity a business achieves with those digital technologies. The first step of that maturity ladder would be digitization, right? This is the transition from analog to digital, from letters to email. Then comes the topic of digitalization itself, where it is a sporadic adoption of digital technologies. So you might think of usage of Power Apps or Power BI, or another Microsoft one would be or Copilot, right? So these are sporadic installments or sporadic applications which might be adopted in business. When a business truly takes all of those technologies and changes the way in which it conducts itself, that's the true digital transformation. A digital transformation is when companies adapt and shift on how they conduct business with these digital technologies, including the ones which are enabled by AI. So now let's talk about AI itself. So AI, the way it is defined, or at least in my words, would be intelligence demonstrated by machines as opposed to intelligence demonstrated by humans, or animals for that matter. And this intelligence encompasses the ability to learn and reason, and perhaps generalize to infer meaning. Some examples of AI which we might grapple with in real life or encounter in real life would be the purchase prediction from Amazon, or email categorization as spam filters. A subset of the general world of AI would be machine learning. It is a branch of AI that focuses on data and algorithms to imitate the way in which humans learn, and gradually improving the accuracy. In this case, an example I can cite is the video prediction algorithms of Netflix. More you use them, better they become, right? A family of machine learning techniques is also called deep learning. It might be a subset, if I may call it that, right? And deep learning is one which summarizes the algorithms that are structured in layers to create these artificial neural nets, this artificial neural network. These algorithms can learn and make intelligent decisions on their own, just like a human brain. Examples here is autonomously driving cars, right? So taking some decisions over from us. AD, autonomous driving, ADAS, advanced driver assistance systems. Those solutions, those pieces of software are largely built on deep learning. Within that there could be topics associated with speech recognition or the field of robotics itself, right? So there are several aspects of deep learning which enable those technological solutions. Next comes this very fascinating new world of generative AI, right? It is a subset of deep learning models that can learn patterns from their input training data and then generate high quality text, images, videos, other content with similar characteristics. Several models are available now within the last 12 months or so. ChatGPT from OpenAI, which is also called Copilot, to some extent, in my definitions, they are interchangeable. One is Microsoft branded, obviously, or Google Gemini, and DALL-E, DeepSeek, Claude. There are many of them out there. And then when we talk about generative AI, the concept of generative predetermined transformers become important. They are the subset of Gen AI models that can leverage novel transformer architectures will excel in capturing long-term dependencies and learning contextual relationships in sequence of data. So basically the GPT transformers or generative pre-trained transformers know the relationships between pictures, between words, between phrases, and that is really that drives Google Gemini or a ChatGPT or whatever else there might be. The relatively recent GPT model is GPT-4, which was trained and provided by OpenAI. Several, because GPT-4, obviously there was a GPT-3, 2, and so forth. But OpenAI has made a lot of, advancement in these topics, but they have competition today. We refer to that geopolitical competition. DeepSeek challenges the authority or challenges the leadership position of OpenAI, and that's where this escalating, I would say, competition is coming in. Perhaps it is good for innovation. Only time will tell. Having talked a lot about GPT, maybe I'll spend a few more thoughts on, or a few more seconds on ChatGPT. For those of you who've not used it in terms of through OpenAI or Copilot through Microsoft, ChatGPT is a chatbot interface which allows users to interact with this generative pre-trained model, in this case GPT-4, and or other versions, through natural languages instead of writing code, right? So you can ask this chatbot to do things in your own words, and it'll do all the computations and code writing in the back even, and then helps to provide answers. Basically, if you think about it, it democratizes the access to GPT models, right? You're interacting with these GPT models through chatbots and essentially doing very advanced AI tasks, right? So that is truly game changing in my view. A few other thoughts about generative AI. The concept of large language models is important. It is a GPT algorithm now that can recognize, summarize, translate, predict, generate text, or other forms of content, audio and video. We've seen a ton of them online now, based on the knowledge gained from these massive data sets. Sometimes these data sets are as big as the internet itself. So it's quite revolutionary in my mind. Then further, something else I like to mention is the importance of data science. This is the scientific method, if I may call it that, which is based on mathematics and statistics, which helps to gain insight from data, right? Those concepts and those approaches of data science are, I will say, integral across the board through all AI topics. So again, this is a broad topic. We've spent maybe 5-6 minutes talking about it. The intention here is to just introduce these to you, contextualize, I would say, to some extent. But this is a broad field, and more we learn about it, more there is to learn. So it's an open field. I encourage everyone to the leap forward and start learning wherever they feel comfortable, right? Perhaps interacting with Copilot first, and then learning to code with Copilot, right? That's also an option. So wherever you start is the right place to start. Whenever you start is the right time to start. I encourage all my colleagues within ZF or even outside, those who are listening to me right now, to take that plunge, because it is really exciting and definitely beneficial. Thus far, we've talked about the history of AI. We've talked about a little bit of the lay of the land, what various buzzwords might be. Now I'd like to focus on some of the trends we've observed in terms of AI. What you see on the left part of the screen there is a trajectory which was shared by the CEO of NVIDIA at CES 2025. And what we see here is future path, one future path of AI, at least the technology piece. So today we are somewhere, I guess, in the realm of perception AI or generative AI. When we talk about perception AI, we're thinking about speech recognition, we're thinking about imaging, right? And we are thinking about advanced driver assistance systems. So these are all perception of AI helping us perceive the physical world and helping make us smart decisions. From there, we get into the world of generative AI. We talked about generative AI in the previous slide. This is where we can see applications like digital marketing. This is where we see applications as code generation, and how simple these generative AI technologies make it, right? Because they can look at large language models, and they can have understanding of relationships with different pieces of knowledge or data. They can help create more content, newer content for us, and sometimes in very surprising ways. So currently, like I said, we are somewhere in this perception AI, generative AI space. Moving forward, the involvement of humans, or let me phrase it this way. Currently, the interaction is happening between human and AI. We are going to see a world where we will start to see AI talking to AI, meaning agent AIs or AI agents, agentic AI, doing things where AI to AI interactions start to become very commonplace. So some applications which could be here would be customer service or patient care, or code refinement even, right? So these different pieces of AI really talking to each other and generating value for us. And then the next phase, or the phase at this current end point of the trajectory, would be something like physical AI. This is where we really start to see these L4 plus, level 4 plus vehicles, where human involvement in driving starts to come down. General robotics start to come in, right? Where robotics become really cybernetic, and then they try to interact with each other as if they are smart beings. So all of these seemingly futuristic things several years ago, maybe a decade or so ago, are at our doorsteps. And so it is going to be a very fascinating technology-rich future we will be dealing with. So now I'd like to put that into context for us here in this discussion. What we see from a recent survey from McKinsey is how or in a recent survey from McKinsey, they tried to assess how AI is impacting work. And across the board, what they're finding is, employees are ready. And sometimes this is the leaders. And in what they cite here is employees are 3 times more likely to use generative AI or Gen AI than their leaders might know. Another thing which they found is 70% of the employees think that in 2 years, Gen AI will change their work significantly by a third even. Right, so they are anticipating this impact of AI on their lives. 47% of employees think top-down approach to AI is too slow. So first forming a structure and then perhaps taking some actions. This traditional way of doing business would not work, or it's really slow. So now we need to think about that digital transformation we were talking about earlier, right? How AI is now starting to even impact that, and democratizing to some extent where change is going to happen. 92% of the companies plan to invest more in Gen AI in next three years. So now taken all these points into context, is change is coming. It is coming at a fast rate, and it's not coming from top down. Another thing which they found was only 1% of the leaders believe the investments have reached maturity. So yeah, yes, there is more to come. This one I thought was really interesting. 48% of the employees rank training as the most important to adoption of AI itself, and they are also saying there is not enough available. So now if we once again step back and look at this big picture of what the survey is saying, top down is not going to work. A lot of investment is going to come. People are anticipating change because of AI, and enough training is not available. So I think we'll have to think outside the box a little bit, right? So this is where groups like Zheads or these peer-to-peer groups can start teaching each other, starting narrow, starting now, and starting with relevance. Topics which might be of relevant to you might make most sense. So we will have to make an evolution, and we might not have a roadmap of how to leapfrog or progress in this space. And I would say companies like my own and others will have to think creatively of how to prepare their workforce for the future, and making sure that engineers in the spirit of engineering week are ready to take advantage of these AI technologies. So in the previous slide, we talked about how CEOs and other executives in various companies surveyed by McKinsey were saying that they will do a lot more investment in AI, and they have not completely realized the benefits. So in terms of benefits, there are several value propositions they see, and these value propositions can be in many topics, right? This could be better productivity, lower costs, faster time to market, higher quality, and many more. Another thing we have to understand then is, to be able to realize these value propositions, our work processes need to evolve. This next list which I'll share with you is obviously not a complete list, but a sample of things which we might have to think about in terms of how we work to be able to use and deploy AI to our advantage. Let's look at some of these. In terms of creativity and innovation, definitely an area where AI can help us. Today, it is dependent very much on the human insight. AI-assisted approach could bring in new sparks, right? Remember that ChatGPT, let's take that example for a second, knows the entire internet. It might be able to give you new ideas which you might not consider based on a very narrow but yet deep experience in a certain field. That being said, I will highlight this a few times, right? Over reliance on AI for creativity could also be detrimental, right? It could also lead us down incorrect path. So something we'll have to keep in mind as we think about these evolution or these newer process or AI assisted processes in our companies. Another one we can think of is improved insights and quality, right? So today, or quality of output I should say, today insight is very domain dependent or domain experience dependent. Longer someone might have an experience in a certain field, better their insights might be, and the quality of the output of their work could be arguably higher. Now once again, when we think about AI, remember, in case of generative AI, it has access to those large language models, and the output or the insights could be consistently high in quality. Yet again, they might need review from a domain expert who might have spent time and might have gotten their hands dirty to solve several problems. Another one could be improved throughput. Today we talk about output in terms of hours or days. I'm only saying this to compare the scale. In the future, with AI assistance, those same throughputs could then be minutes to hours. An example which comes to mind here is learning languages, coding languages, and now doing coding with the help of AI, for example. Today, you can learn a certain language. This could be C++ or JavaScript or Python, and we remember the discussions and advantages people said they would have for learning each one of them. But in an AI-assisted world, all you need to be thinking about is prompt engineering, how to best prompt the co-pilot assistant to be able to generate a piece of code for you. We'll look a little bit more on this software development with AI in a second, but that's something which I would like to highlight here. Further, Maintenance. So far we've talked about new things, but when we think about maintenance or existing solutions, this could be repair, or this could be correction of bugs, right? All of those things today mostly are manual and could be time consuming. In an AI assisted world, this would be potentially much faster because again, the knowledge base is broader and AI can come in and then assist us with all of those topics. Like I said, let's maybe look at a little bit more in depth to set an example of how we might be able to use AI in software development. Let's talk about a little bit more in depth of how we can see an evolution in software development. On the left hand side, you see the traditional approach, and on the right hand side, you kind of see the evolving approach with AI assisted software development. Whereas in the traditional world, for some of us who might have learned some programming, we're thinking in terms of algorithms and we're solving about problems. In the future, we can think of this as AI-assisted problem decomposition into individual groups, and then AI helping solve those individual modules as a decomposition of the overall problem. Next, we have tried doing language-specific coding. So this is the famous debate between whether JavaScript is better or C++ is better, and learning that specific language and trying to solve within that context. In the future, prompting generative AI to generate certain code and certain modules might be the way to go. How to ask that prompt in the right and most efficient way might be the way to go. Manual code optimization, right? Obviously, the word says it all there, manual. But then in the future, we could have AI-based evaluation. Again, these redundant tasks or tasks which could be outsourced to AI based on reliance on the large learning models AI has today. There could be output evaluation and further refinement. Testing of code, and this is the unit test step by step, as opposed to thinking about the entire test case generation and then testing your code according to that. Same way, the code review, as opposed to doing a very manual and perhaps sometimes laborious and from experience also boring work. With AI, collaboration can become much faster. Obviously, chances of making an error during the review could go down. Documentation is another topic, dare I say, could be boring. This is where AI can help with document management, improved documentation, making sure then that code is rightly commented, and then we can make and go back like 5 months later or something and make changes. Of course, the system architecture view could be then transitioned into system modeling view, where we are creating the architecture on the traditional process. On the AI assisted one, it'll be more creating a model of the system itself, and then holistically addressing the software development. So what you can see here is in this evolution, yes, AI is helping us, but even making those individual traditional steps, sometimes that could be difficult, boring, laborious. Sometimes there could be um, a singular way of solving problems. There are new avenues and new approaches that makes this software development much more cohesive, I would say, and potentially much better. So far, we have looked at all the promise AI holds and how our ways of learning and ways of doing business can change within the context of this digital transformation. What I would like to say now are share with you maybe five or six, maybe five considerations which we have to make when we are thinking about deploying AI or working with AI. The keyword or the takeaway I have for you is proceeding with purpose, and we'll see what that means. Intellectual property. When we're working with AI, potential risks today include unclear ownership of AI-generated code. In terms of mitigation, we'll have to think about how to clearly have clear attribution policies and perhaps licensing agreements. And as an organization, using those methodologies, think about developing and enforcing IP guidelines for AI-generated code. Further, thinking about bias in the code itself, right? This is the perpetuation of biases from the training data, meaning that AI is only as smarter as the underlying data which trains that AI model, and that could have an impact on the outcomes, right? In this case, Some mitigation strategies could be regular audits, diversified training sets, and of course, as an organization, think about establishing ethics committees or conduct bias impact assessments. Next, we can think about job displacement. Of course, when we think about AI and being able to do certain tasks which humans can, we have to think about job displacement. In this case, the potential risks could be on entry-level jobs, right? In terms of coding, these could be entry-level coding jobs. And the mitigation processes here are reskilling programs. And it's not so much learning new skills, but learning how to more efficiently work between a human and an AI model. And this would be also true when we move towards the agentic and physical AIs, because then that interaction between humans and AI will be also more advanced or more evolved. So we'll have to continue to think about how we interact with AI and what might be the best way to do that. In terms of accountability for errors, sourcing difficulty in tracing the sources of errors, right? If we are relying on AI, there is no one you can go and interview and say, what mistakes you made. So that's kind of where we'll have to think about more robust testing, very importantly, human oversight, right? To make sure that we're not blindly relying on AI and then we have some humans in the picture to be able to develop a clear accountability framework, and then, making sure that we are able to catch those errors in a timely fashion. The last one I would mention here is data privacy, exposure of sensitive data to all models. This is something which can be mitigated by strict data handling protocols, especially when AI agents are going to start talking to each other, right? What has access to what, I think, will be a question which can be answered by implementing strong data governance and security measures. So now we come to a very interesting part of the presentation where I will get to share with you some examples of how AI is being deployed in the solutions that ZF creates. This first example is focusing on a virtual sensor where we are using AI to measure temperature. The example I have here is an electric motor, and as you can imagine, these motors rotate at a very high speed, and it is almost impossible to determine the exact temperature inside the motor while it is in motion. However, this measurement is quite important for the functional development during operation. Here is where humans and measurement sensors have reached their limit, and here is where we really introduced AI or used AI to help us out in a difficult technical situation. So ZF has defined 30 temperature measuring points at which actual temperatures on a test bench can be determined. So you kind of see those with the white dots in that motor there. So those actual temperatures, the actual temperatures at these respective measuring points vary greatly depending on the operating mode of the motor and the operating point of the motor itself. So the load and the duty cycles can determine how quickly the motor is turning. The environmental conditions obviously will have an impact on the temperature. So that gives you a sense of how difficult it is to measure in real time what the temperature can look like. So now remember, we have these temperatures measured in the lab. In the bench setting, also we have some understanding of the operating conditions. And then the AI algorithms can be specifically trained with the amount of data that is collected. And then these models can later determine the temperature based on various dependency patterns. Again, how fast the motor might be, what the conditions might be outside, without the use of an actual sensor. Right? And without the use of a very complex sensor, which will have to withstand a lot of forces and environmental conditions. And again, this is an example where data which we collect can train the AI, and that AI can then be used to get an output similar to a physical sensor, but in this case the sensor itself is virtual. Another thing I would like to say is if the data were not available, the AI could not be trained. And again, this is where that digital transformation topic comes back again, the human AI interaction comes back again. And we need to think about how our work and output will evolve, and this is a perfect example of that. In this context, we have a precise advantage using these AI algorithms. If we are training these algorithms correctly, it filters out those correlations which can help us understand what the temperature could be as the rotor and stator changes, right? So hence, I think this is a very good example where we are able to use the data which is available to us, develop an algorithm, and avoid the cost of putting complex sensors in, where we can use math and data to be able to get the same kind of output. As we mentioned previously, ZF has a whole host of software solutions when it comes to advanced driver assistance systems. In fact, we have 20 driving functions that enable comfort and safety. I will encourage you to go through this video, pause it when you like to read a little bit more about these functions. But in the next 2 minutes, I'll summarize quickly on the screen what these 20 functions are, followed by a much deeper dive on the AI-based scene prediction ZF has. But again, if you want to learn more about these, please follow our social media channels. The last example I'll bring to you is something we call the ZF Annotate. This is one of my favorite AI deployment examples at ZF. I had the opportunity to directly contribute to this project. In fact, this project has been nominated for the Base Pilot Awards by the Automotive News. As of February 2025, we are awaiting the final word from the judges. But this technology is a service. The solution this technology offers is a service which helps to generate ground truth, which is needed to validate some of the functions we saw on the previous slide. And that validation can be done in-house or even by external parties, sometimes our customers, and that makes it 10 times faster and then at a fraction of the cost. Annotation today largely is done manually. Our solution deploys AI, gets you the validation, or gets our customers to be done with the validation much faster and at a fraction of the cost. Let's look at this solution in a little bit more detail.
Modern advanced driver assistance systems are using an array of sensors and powerful computing to analyze the vehicle's surrounding. Camera, radar, LiDAR and ultrasonic sensors are continuously collecting data, allowing the vehicle to create a 3D image of its whole environment. Simultaneously, objects are recognized in real time, like lane markers, traffic signs, objects like vehicles, pedestrians and cyclists. For the development of such complex ADAS and autonomous driving systems, reference data, as we can see it here on the vehicles behind me, are essential. Traditionally, these reference sensor data are annotated by human beings, resulting in very high effort and also very high costs for our customers. ZF Annotate is an AI-powered perception validation solution for testing, training and validating of ADAS and AD systems from level 2+ up to level 5, including automated parking functions. And our rapid AI post-processing is up to 10 times faster compared to the classical manual approaches. An extremely high detection accuracy and cost effectiveness helps to accelerate the development and also the fine-tuning of ADAS and AD algorithms. By uploading the data into our cloud solution, objects are tracked over time and receive corresponding ground truth information like classification, a position, and a velocity. Depending on the project needs, the reference sensors can be either equipped directly on the test vehicle or on an escorting vehicle in a pursuit mode. ZF is offering a ready-to-go cloud service for automated reference data annotation. ZF Annotate exemplifies how AI enhances ADAS development, ensuring a smarter and safer driving experience.
This brings us to the conclusion of our AI Tech Talk in the Engineering Week 2025. I hope I was able to share some insights and trends with you, which will help you make better decisions when it comes to AI. To learn more about how AI is being used at ZF and to learn about our exciting projects, please follow us on social media sites as well as look us up at zf.com. Following this presentation, we will have a panel discussion with the leaders from ZF North America. I thank you for your attention and look forward to engaging with you in the future.
In the panel type discussion, what we have today is with us is Dale Schoen. He's responsible for Division C's business in North America. You guys can beat me later if I get your titles wrong or correct me now. Also, we have Tamer Jirja on the phone. He's responsible for ADAS topics, previously led the topic of passive safety electronics, one of the most innovative executives I know. Tamer, sorry if I said something wrong. Bharat Indrakumar leads the DI activities very specifically with AI. And then, oh, Bharat, I just realized you have a new acronym, so I stand corrected there. But the way Bharat and I have interacted is one of the leading voices for AI in the region, a big advocate of creating that efficiency through AI, and has led a great effort there. So that was my humble attempt at introducing our executives. I will have some questions for all of them. And this is reflecting what we have on the poll there, as well as some of the questions I had thought. Since we'll start with you, Dale, if that's okay. I'll connect us back to something which we tried as a pilot in 2024. Dale, you were here with John Hawkins, and this was at end of such a session where we had talked about AI. And thank you once again for supporting us. Curious from my side, and you've heard Jawad speak as well, from the chassis business, right? It is our crown jewel within ZF. What are your opinions and thoughts about how AI fits into what Division C is doing?
Yeah, thanks, Preet, for having us here and for the session. I apologize. I actually missed the meat of the session, which I would have been super interested in, but unfortunately had a last minute conflict come up. But you know, you've heard from the experts really who are living it on a day-to-day basis, and I think that's great. I think from an overall divisional and even an enterprise standpoint, right? I think there's certainly a lot of support for AI. I think we want to see how this can change how we do business, how we can really drive value in the corporation, right? Through, let's call it efficiency, through new ideas, through eliminating waste, even in how we operate in the plants, right? But that being said, I think as Sean also mentioned, right, playing a little bit around with the tools here and there, I think we're still learning about it. And I think this is a really cool phase for us, right, to see how quickly we can ramp up and how quickly we can take ideas that are out there, things that are new, things that people haven't thought about before, seeing what AI can do for us and use that to push through ideas throughout the organization. I think the commitment is there, right? Developing a group specifically for data science and AI, right? And I think Division C, Sai is leading it. I know, Jawad, it's not exactly in your title, but I know you're deeply involved, and these are great things that I think will help push our company forward. But even there, right, we're at least kind of going through a little bit project by project, understanding what this can do for us, seeing how we can generate that value. And the key question for us will be, how do we keep doing that, and how do we explode that through the rest of the organization, and how do we position ourselves to be ready for that? And I think the story behind Sai and Jawad, I met you guys maybe 24 months ago, right? 12 months ago, the data science and AI group was just forming, just an idea. But these two, among a handful of others, right, really had a passion for this, really saw what this could be, and really took out of their spare time, if you will, right? I remember the conversation. I'm sure you didn't walk away super excited when I said, "Hey, I love the ideas. I don't have any dollars for you, but but keep working on it," right? But I do think that that's a cool story, right? Because out of this passion, right, we're building on those building blocks, and now Sai has the opportunity to take that group, and we will keep pushing to prove out how the enterprise value of this can realize itself, and through that we'll keep investing in it.
Thank you, Dale. Tamara, I might come to you next. Arguably, US is a global leader in AI and AI technologies. We saw that in the history, a lot of contribution from this region of the world. In your opinion, given that context, how will AI affect the way we work? And how might you advise employees to upskill? How can they take a plunge from your viewpoint as an executive leader?
Sure. To talk about some very simple things at first. So very, very simple one is, a lot of times something I do myself is, if I craft an email and I think it's too long, I literally jump it in Copilot and say, make it more concise, or break it into bullet points. And maybe that's an oversimplicity, but that's something that can actually help in the communication. Or if you get an extremely long document, as you showed earlier today, taking that and dropping it into Copilot and asking it to summarize and break up the key points of the things you need to be aware of. That also doesn't mean that you don't go through it yourself and quickly rifle through it, because the AI doesn't catch everything, right? But it's useful. Another place where I've used it is setting up workshops. I've set up a 3-day workshop with the team in China and the global team. And I was first bubble up of the idea. I literally asked Copilot, what should I do for a 3-day portfolio workshop? I started adding more context to it and things that I thought that it was missing, and so on and so forth, until I came up to a very, very good agenda, which I used, right? So probably cut the time that it took me to build that agenda to minutes. So that's some very, very simple uses. Talking about what we do in Division U and the computer vision and autonomous driving and all of these type of things. In the computer vision itself, the team already uses AI to simulate road situations and to basically take road data that we have and turn it into additional road data by simulation of the data through AI tools. So we do that. Some of our partners that we work with do that today. It's a very hands-on, useful way to do that. Another example from AI, something our team in China did, is they developed a demo vehicle that has highway NOA, which is navigate on autopilot. And I was just in this vehicle, I don't know, a month ago, and we were on the expressway, and the vehicle handled so much like a real human being, changing lanes, moving through traffic, in some cases, literally kind of peeking around the side of a vehicle that was going slowly in front of it to make sure everything was clear, and then passing it on a 2-lane highway. All things that a human driver would do, because the AI was trained with real data and with human drivers. So there's some real aspects that we can simply do, like I was expressing through Copilot in our day-to-day work, but also from a lot of the technical and the actual function and software development. There's AI tools that we are using today, and then we need to continue using, and obviously always look for better tools or better ways to implement them.
Thank you, Tamer. I've seen that video, by the way. It is quite impressive. So then I'll come to you, Bharat. First of all, apologies for waking you up early today, and thank you for joining. Every time I look up Google News or whatever other news sources I look at, there is this new headline about AI. And something, Dale, you mentioned, right? If we think about the standard training methodology, learn, perform, we will never catch up, right? We will always be behind and then trying to catch up with these things. But there is definitely value to AI in that sense. I guess a double question for you. First of all, in your view, what is it? How might someone start? So going back to Sean's question from earlier, to dip their toes, and then secondarily, what value or how can the value be brought to the organization? How can we crystallize some of the benefits AI can provide? Again, what Dale was saying is you don't have the budget, you have the passion, but 24 months later, the teams are saving that money. If you could share some insight of, because this will help people get started on that topic.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Preet.
It's a little soft, Bharat. It's a little soft, can't hear you well. Still bad.
I got it.
There we go. It was, or not.
Okay, I try again. Thanks, Preet. Is this better now?
Somewhat better. Let's give it a try.
I don't want to keep messing up with my microphone, so I'll continue. So let me know if I need to maybe speak up a little bit. So very happy to be here. And thanks, Preet, also for introducing. I actually had a job change at the beginning of the month, so maybe I'll start with that relatively quickly. So I moved from, I was formerly in global R&D, DI group, and as of February 1st, I moved into the production management, OP group, with responsibilities to drive AI and digital twins in our manufacturing and supply chain operations. And really looking forward, right, to take the learnings and the approaches. So everything, Preet, you said will continue. My role in the North America space in the Drive AI program doesn't change. So really looking forward to drive that forward. So you asked me three things, and yeah, the first one is I'll talk about the value, and then I'll address the the second part of how can we get started here. So with regards to value, like if you really think about it, right? So artificial intelligence or AI refers to the simulation of human knowledge in machines, right? So machines that are programmed to think and learn like humans. And typically, we find these AI solutions to be really good at automating repetitive tasks, right? Improving decision making through data analysis. There are several examples, right, like that many of us use on a day-to-day basis, right? Speech recognition. Alexa is almost synonymous, right? So I don't know how many of us don't use something like that in our daily lives, right, in our home, right? Language translations. There are a lot of cool apps, right? So when you travel to a foreign country, if you have to interact with someone in a foreign language, there are apps in real time that can translate and help facilitate conversations, right, in a foreign language. And in the business context, right? So if you look at what we're doing at ZF, a good example would be a visual quality inspection, right? So we're a big manufacturing company. We produce a lot of parts, components, systems, right? And you can put a camera in our assembly line and look at how the parts are coming out of the assembly line and make instant decisions on whether they're okay or not okay, right? So we have plenty of examples like that. So that's the wide gamut of what AI can do to us in terms of value. And AI is not new, right? So you can date back to first machine learning algorithms back to the 1940s and the 50s. But what is very remarkable is the rapid pace of change that we're seeing in the AI space. And that is due to, the advancements in compute, right? Availability of, let's say, ready-to-use AI models. For example, many of us referred today to large language models like ChatGPT, which has the ability to generate content. Preet, I saw the tail end of the Pong game that you kind of put together on the fly. Many of us can recall, right? Spending hours, right, doing something like that, or maybe days, right, even to do something like that you can do it in a minute or two, right, today. And there is a great application of such things in our business life as well, right? And I'll touch on that, shortly. So, before I go there, right? I really believe that for companies like ZF, right, adopting AI is not a choice anymore. It almost becomes a competitive necessity. I came across this recently, right? So someone was saying AI is not going to take away our jobs, but someone with AI skills will, right? Think about it. That is very, very profound, right? So AI will not replace our jobs, but someone who is proficient at AI will take our jobs, right, in the future. And that is very profound. And that is a good segue to the second part of your question, Preet, in terms of how can we get started, right? So the course today was one of the first, right? So Preet and I, along with Javad and a few others, were ideating on how can we raise the awareness in North America, right? So we wanted to start with this basic, let's say, offering that you saw today, which is the 101, really starting at the basics, looking at simple things like how can, like, ChatGPT summarize content for you, right? The example that Preet showed with the employee survey, summarization and things like that. So that is the basic, right? So like I was also, I find it exciting, right, or curious when I saw people asking, hey, I'm not able to access Copilot and things like that. So those are the things that we really wanted to bring to your attention, right? So there are tools that you can use today, right? So with the material that Preet and team are going to share, you will find links to tools like Copilot, Chat at ZF that you can use almost immediately, right, today. And there are things that you can use tomorrow, literally, right, with a little bit of, let's say, knowledge and training, which will also you will find in the links that Preet would send. And then we also want to do advanced curriculum courses, like Preet was talking about, where it would be practitioner-led courses, for example, to show us how to use GitHub, for software, development, right, programming and things like that. So we will bring in practitioners who can show us how do they use these tools. We can bring in practitioners to show how they use the requirements AI example that Preet talked about in our day-to-day jobs. So that's how we can use AI. And for me, like I said, it's not a really choice anymore. It almost becomes a competitive necessity, right? So AI can add value to help us improve our own productivity, employee productivity, improve plant productivity, differentiate our products, and really apply automation and speed up a lot of business processes, right, in our space. So there's, the opportunities are endless. And I really encourage you guys to really, go through the material, try out the links, and Preet, this is a fantastic forum, right? We could also then, raise the awareness in the group and help them, empower them with the tools, right, to be applying these concepts in their day-to-day work life.
Thank you, Bharat. I'll shift gears a little bit. Another set of thoughts which I kind of saw, I'm going to run out of battery, seems like, but we'll figure that out, is the topic associated with software-defined vehicles. So I'm going to ask the same question towards Tamer and Dale. This word, we hear it over and over in the context of ADAS, in the context of chassis control, and I think AI has a very important role to play with it, or to take that topic further. We'd be very curious to hear, and whoever would like to go first, perhaps Dale, you go first, and I'll go plug in my computer, is how would AI, in your view, encourage or enable us to start delivering the SVD type value for our customers? Thoughts on that, Dale?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Preet, for sure the applicability to software-defined vehicles is, I think it's very easy to make that link, right? You're talking software, you're talking about software and vehicles, you're talking about how do we use that to create a competitive advantage. But I think in terms of how we use AI, right? I think it's applicable to all corners of our business, really. I mean, we can use AI to, can we use AI to start generating code for us or make code generation easier? Can we use AI to validate code that's written either by the AI or by someone else? Can we use it to start tuning our vehicles and taking testing loops out of our development process in order to make that faster? And so I think, really just scratching the surface there, right? But I think finding ways to use AI, whether it's software-defined vehicles or whether it's just in, our everyday parts, I think that there are a multitude of opportunities for us to be able to plug that in and use that to really drive that in our organization.
Thank you, Dale. Tamer, thoughts from you?
I agree with everything Dale just said. It goes to every end of our business and say every end of the vehicle. Also, I think one of the important areas to explore is the transition that's happening with the automakers. We talk about software-defined vehicles, and that is the future. We all see it as the future, but then our conventional vehicles out there still have multiple systems. And a big play with AI is to get these systems all to talk to each other. We spend so much time, and the OEMs spend so much time debugging the vehicles, getting one system to talk to another so it can all work together homogeneously. So the end game obviously is a software-defined vehicle, but there still is that middle play as we get to the software-defined vehicle, at least with our major customers.
Yeah, both valid points. I think, Tamer, something you brought up, Dale, you were hinting at that as well, is this interface, right? This legacy system, which looks like the spaghetti diagram Jawad showed earlier. In my opinion, I think thinking about this agentic approach, right, where agents of, let's say, ZF could talk to agents of GM, and then that starts to become the interface. Perhaps that's an area we can think of as we move forward.
And I think clearly that's where it's going, right? We have various conversations with our customers about how we use our smart actuators to talk with each other, right? The whole basis of Cubics for us in our vehicle motion controls group is to be able to bring all of the different elements of a chassis hardware together, right, to make faster and better decisions to control the vehicle and impact vehicle dynamics, right? So as that data set gets wider, right, as there are more sensors on the vehicle that we can talk to and pull information from, I think all the more important, right, for us to be able to translate that and compute that more quickly in a way that that we can create that competitive advantage.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you, Tamer. Bharat, I'll come back to you. Are there, so you hinted upon the topics within operations and others where we might have gotten success, but there are also, I know, examples from the Drive AI activity we've been doing for the last month or two. Is there an example or two, perhaps you can share, where we might have seen actual value generated with AI? Right now, we're talking about summarizing an email, summarizing a large document directly has an impact on my work, saves me hours. But I know for a fact that there are few projects where we might have saved actual millions of dollars. I'd be curious, if you could share an example, because this will help, I guess, the audience that's online to help put that into context. Any one example which might be your favorite or not?
No, absolutely, Preet. So, we see, AI having a significant impact, right, especially in operations. So I'll talk about a couple of examples there. So we already have a number of AI solutions running in our manufacturing sites, right, in our plants. Examples are intelligent inventory management is one where we can optimize the inventory levels, which is a big pain point for the company. So we have that solution running in one or two plants. We have solutions to optimize production scheduling, which is a huge pain point. As you can imagine, the customer demand input is quite, has a lot of variance, right? So from week to week, and you need to adjust your production scheduling to factor for that. A huge pain point for us in our manufacturing space. So we have like one or two plants having this production optimizer, saving, thousands, if not, close to $1 million in each of the plants, Preet. And we are also in North America, Preet, as you know, we're working on a inbound freight optimization use case for Great Coat, which is also, potential has the potential to save in excess of 2 million just in rate code alone with inbound freight, cost that we incur. And so those are some of the examples, right, where we see already either realized examples or huge potentials, and we're very close to, for example, launching this freight management use case in Grey Code. But historically, the struggle for ZF has not been with, coming up with one or two pilots. I think if anything, we're really very good at this, right? And it's not just a ZF problem, it's also an industry problem. We're really good with POCs, proof of concepts and pilots. Where we struggle big time is with scaling these initiatives. And this is where we're putting a lot of emphasis now to see how can we partner with IT, because all of these AI solutions need data from our backbone systems like ERP, right? SAP, for example, right? And how do we interface with those systems in a way that allows us to rapidly scale these solutions across the different plants, for example, right? So if you take intelligent inventory management, inventory is a company-wide problem, right? It's not limited to one location. It's, across many sites. How can we rapidly scale the solution that we have, in one or two plants today to, let's say, 50 plants to 100 plants within the next 1-2 years? I think that's where the big bang will come, the big benefit will come. And this is where it becomes very imperative to work with IT to seamlessly integrate these solutions into our systems landscape, working with business partners in supply chain management and in all, other, let's say cross-functional groups to really accelerate our journey, right? So that's where I see the big challenge. And that's where I also see the big value realization, right, for ZF by bringing this to many, many sites across the board within ZF.
Thank you, Bharat. We are down to our last couple of minutes in this discussion. I think I'll pause the barrage of questions. If I may summarize the last 30 minutes, the message I get from the executives from all different parts of our company is be brave to try something, right? There are tools available for you today. You can try something. There are POCs. Don't shy away from it. There are resources which we have today, despite the messages which we get from budget tightening, all of that. So it's okay to be brave and try a POC. And while that you're doing on that, looking at that, there might be support available to scale those further, to be able to learn from one side to the next, and then be able to deliver value, which is the immediate focus on efficiency for the company. And in terms of innovation, the examples from Cubics, from the smart driving example, this is where I also start to see AI come in and make a better value proposition perhaps for our customers. So in one sentence, then I will say is, let's not shy away. Let's take the plunge, and we will be smarter tomorrow than we will be today.